Hey, this is Cutliff, founder and host of the two-time award-winning Black in Sports podcast. And this is Sports Business Conversations with ADC Partners.
Hey, this is Dave Helmy of ADC Partners, and welcome to another episode of the Sports Business Conversations podcast. I'm going to start by leveling with you, right? This whole podcasting thing, it isn't exactly for the faint of heart, you know. It's a lot of work, right? You're scheduling guests, recording episodes, editing, posting, promoting on social media, socials, all the while wondering, is anybody actually listening? So when you get a like or a rating or a positive comment, it can be pretty cool. But when you get an actual award, I mean, that's next level. And it's a feeling this episode's guest, EJ Cutliff, knows really well because his podcast, Black in Sport, was just named a top sports business podcast by the Sport Podcast Awards. EJ took time out of his victory lap to talk about the founding of Black in Sport and what it means to receive this kind of recognition. The longtime sports business exec also provides his view on the state of the industry, the role that Black in Sport plays in this cultural moment, and what he hopes to achieve in both sports business and podcasting. And if you're planning a Vegas trip anytime soon, the longtime Vegas resident has some tips for you. So thanks for checking out this conversation with EJ Cutliff, founder and co-host of Black in Sport podcast. Hope you enjoy. First and foremost, right, congratulations, right? Black in Sport recently named 2025 Best Sports Business Podcast Award winner. And I know, you churn away at creating these episodes and you work in social medias and getting recognition. So I'm assuming getting the award has to feel a little bit of it's like a special thing, a validation. Can you talk about what it was like when you feel like you get an award like that after all the work you put into this?
Oh, it's definitely validating, right?
Yeah.
Your head down, just churning, creating, attempting to find what the audience is going to want to hear, right? And then to be awarded, and part of the award is the audience has to be voting for you, right? Yeah. So it goes through a nomination crew, right? So you submit, you get submitted, and okay, you're nominated, right? And people's like, oh, it's such an honor to be nominated. I want to win. I want to win. I come from
it's a sports podcast, for Christ's sakes. It's gonna be competitive.
But no, and then just to have the people, take that extra step, they listen to you, and then now they're actually taking the time to click that button and vote for you. No, it was great. And I think the other thing for us, right, is it's a national award, right? This is coming from the podcasting, bureau out of the UK, right? So having a different,
it's international.
It's international, right? Just kind of looking from that standpoint. So, we won the Black Podcast Awards early in our career, and this is our second award in a short 5-year span. So, just definitely excited. And it's just give you that little energy when, you're you're in 250 episodes and you're okay, is this making a difference? And, where do we go from here?
Yeah, it's such a great point, right? 250 episodes. And this is because you're kind of like me from the standpoint of you're hosting, you're editing, you're promoting. It can be kind of a solitary thing. I know you have a co-host, and we'll get into that in a little bit, but it is sort of a moment where you can go, okay, people are listening, and this is having at least starting towards the impact that I want it to have, right?
Absolutely. And that's part of it, right? Because, some people, and we'll get into it later, they do this from a vanity standpoint, right? So to actually have an idea of saying, okay, this is what I want to do, and seeing that it's having some momentum and is definitely, part of that kind of extra motivation and kind of continue to push you forward.
So you do host the show with MH. So can you talk about the origin story of your guys' relation? How did you guys come together? And then how did that evolve into the podcast?
Yeah, man. So it was like a dark and stormy day. No. in sports, right? So we both had the opportunity to be working on the Raiders project as the team, the whole, the beginning for the team
Right.
even got here, right? Like
Yeah.
it's funny how Vegas acts like football's been here for years.
Yeah.
But we
Still got that new team smell on it out there.
absolutely right. But no, we met in the halls of just kind of working on the Raiders project. We were both in different facets of helping that project, come to fruition, and just became friendly. And I just told him like, hey man, look, I have this idea. I'm down the runway with it. Talking to another friend of mine that we were developing it, and I was like, would you be interested, man? Because we've like developed this friendship, and just kind of those quick conversations and chats in passing, and it just took off from there.
Did you guys feel like you had immediate rapport? Like when you guys were passing in the hallways and just kind of like just started talking, you felt like, oh God, this, we've got good interplay here? Or is that something that you took some time to develop with MH?
No, I think it was instant, right? Like it was,
Yeah,
and it was, and it's crazy. It's almost like opposites attract, but we're the same, right?
Okay.
So, I just think it was just those interactions because we're at work now, right? So and it's just like, oh, hey, you're going to lunch, right? And
Yeah.
seeing each other at like Chipotle when we're going to get lunch and just wrapping at lunch. So it was definitely instant, and I think the best part of it was when I told him the idea, he was like, "Yes, absolutely, I'm in."
Oh, he
What I
was
mean?
in.
So, oh, he was in. It
Yeah.
wasn't no convincing because how like when you bring an idea to someone, right? Like, hey, you know what? I want to start a podcast.
No, I have no experience with that whatsoever.
He was in immediately, man. And then
Yeah.
just from watching the show, it's great to have someone different. See, I'm not as confident as you to be able to host a podcast all by myself.
If I'm showing confidence right now, I'm doing a great job using the expression "fake it till you make it."
Hey, there you go. That's a words to live by. But no, just wanted someone to have a different voice and perspective, especially when you talk about some of the things that we get into.
Yeah.
It's great. And I think those synergies is just what's really been part that makes the show dynamic and been such a success.
You've also talked about it from the standpoint of you do come at it from different perspectives, at least particularly as it revolves around sports, right? You come at it from very much the business side, right? Because you've had an opportunity to work with, like you said, the Raiders, T-Mobile Arena, Fresno State, and MH comes at it from more of the product side. Like he helps develop community football programs in and around Las Vegas. Do those differing perspectives add to the show? Like, do they mesh well? Is that just part of the natural dialogue that you guys are able to bring to everything because you come at it from different perspectives?
Definitely, right. Perspective is people's reality.
Yeah.
And then being able to show different perspectives sometimes open things up, right? So I'm always following the money.
Yeah.
I'm, when some things kind of seem out of whack, I'm like, well, let's look at from a business case, like dollars and cents.
Right.
And then he's like, well, no, let's look at from, an overall, like what all is kind of composing the actual product that you get, right? So I think those natural perspectives just kind of help. And it provides for a lot of comedic banter at sometimes.
So you said you brought the idea to MH and the show itself. Let's talk a little bit about the show itself, Black in Sports. And you said one of the things I picked up from listening to it and reading about it, like the goal is to talk about men and women in sports within the voice of Black men and women in sports who are underrepresented or at times misrepresented. And so can you dive a bit deeper into that and how you introduced it to MH and what you felt like was the important goal and what the voice you wanted the show to have as you brought it out into the market?
Man, Dave, how much time do we have, man? So
hey, man, this is a podcast. We can go on for days.
And we'll clip it up, right? All right. So no, just to kind of step back for people to understand, right? So Black in Sports was a journey in itself being named.
Yeah.
And we can dive into like the naming thing, but even calling it that is one of those like antennas go up type things. But I think we did a conscious thing understanding that Black in Sports had duality to it because you have to remember we were coming from a business side of things. You have ABC that created ABC Sports, NBC Sports, and they all created a sports side. But no matter what vertical, they all are talking about trades, the scores, the GMs, who's moving. But no one talks about the person that's doing, social media, the person that's doing sponsorships, or the community activist or the community person that's doing the things in sports. So there is no platform like that until we came along. But and I'm talking about me and you because you talk about the business side of things, and there's
Yeah.
other people that are starting to talk more about the business, like why did people make these certain decisions? So I saw a lot of players starting with the Players Tribune
Mm-hmm.
and Kevin, like all these people started to make their own voice.
Yeah.
So I was like, there's no voice for the business person. So that's where the genesis of it started. We wanted to kind of have that platform so people know what MH is doing, what EJ is doing
Right.
inside the
So that's
Raiders.
the origin story there, really started
That's
to dig into the business side of it. And how has it evolved from where you think back to where you started? 6 years. That's 250 episodes, right? There is obviously going to be a natural progression to it, and you find out the things that you're interested in and what the audience responds to. How do you feel like it's evolved to where it is today?
I think a couple of things, right? So everybody looks at COVID as a bad word, and COVID
Oh, yeah,
did
right. Of
affect
course.
people.
It's amazing how much it still comes up. Yeah.
Although it showed because we were in studio at first, right? And we were only dealing with the local Vegas, people that touch
Right.
the community. So once we saw ESPN and all these big broadcasts were like doing what we're doing right now,
Right.
and it was accepted as still a quality and a version, that opened up to who we could start talking with, right? And that we didn't have to have everyone in studio. So I think that was one of the biggest evolutions is opening our networks up to bring other people and not be kind of like limited to the Vegas. And
Right.
that's what we were like that first year. And then like we launched during COVID. So we were able to grow and expand that way.
It kind of does start that way. Like you go with people in your network, and then you get a little bit of momentum, and then you start to expand the circles around that a little bit. Have you been actively reaching out? Like, as you think about the kind of people who you start with and where you're going now, how does that, the guests you have on today, further build what you're trying to build now? Like the guests you start with versus the ones today, how do they help tell the story that you want to help tell?
Yeah, I think that's the still the key, right? The underlying goal or what your mission statement is or what you
Right.
started off with is still the goal. And we want to get unique people on the show, people that tell a story. So like I always talk about when we talk, what's one of your favorite shows? Larry. We call him Uncle Larry, right?
Yeah, yeah.
He was the one that helped. He's a historian. He's the one who helped get the Negro League
Oh, yeah.
stats and stuff
I've watched that one. Yeah.
Into Major League Baseball. That and it was serendipitous because that show dropped the day that the MLB announced it. But people don't know how much work was done behind the scenes to get that. That's kind of like where the genesis comes from, right? Like picking those unique people that tell a story. We're definitely going to have, our pro players, when we have a top draft pick from the Raiders or, coach from the Aces and things like that. We're definitely going to talk about what makes us here in Las Vegas, but we're going to evolve that and make sure there's like a unique tweak to having like Arusha Brown, who was here, but she was one of the founding members of the WNBA, right? Like she
Right.
played in that inaugural season.
It's interesting too, from the standpoint of you started it to talk business primarily, but the line between being an athlete and being a business person has blurred dramatically. Particularly, like, and you think just the 6 years you started this, it's kind of opened up an entire new dialogue that you can have and the people that you can have on your show, because it's not just about stats and culture anymore. Professional athletes now are singular business people and understand the strength of their voice and the capabilities of their investments. And you really see that out. It really is being brought out now in ways that it hadn't been in the past.
And even at a younger age, right?
Oh boy, I mean, amazing, right?
So I'm gonna say, those 3-letter cuss words NIL,
Yeah.
and like that has changed the scope, right?
Yeah.
Because these talented athletes don't have to just focus on their craft anymore, being good to get to the next level. They're dealing with agents and money and taxes and all that stuff. So the dynamic of what it means to be a business owner, and you have like what started that trajectory with, the Steph Currys and all of them that's founding their media companies. Sports and business is becoming synonymous, and these players are really taking from now they have to focus on kind of like what that business trajectory is, going into playing the game.
Has that been one of the biggest changes since you started, like having the opportunity to speak to athletes from a more like business oriented perspective, they have a greater awareness of it? Or what are some of the things that you feel like you've been watching since you started that make you go, God, that's interesting, and we really want to tease that out or spend some time on that one? Like, what are the trends that you've seen that have driven your interest in the show and the conversations that you're having?
Yeah, I think a couple of them, right? So we want to focus on HBCUs,
Mm-hmm.
because I went to a PWI, which is predominantly my institution, and there's an experience that happens that people don't get to understand, and, like, being able to have, people that either attended or coaches that coach at HBCU
Mm-hmm.
talk about that experience, maybe spark someone to say, "Hey, like, yeah, I'm a top recruiter, or I'm a top athlete, or I'm a parent that's looking to guide my student athlete in the best direction. Let me at least look at one, that's in this list of 5." So I would say that. Also, there was, like, the great migration for a while where we had top athletes saying that they were going to go to historically Black colleges,
Yeah.
and then we started having the trend of coaches, Dion being one of
Mm-hmm.
them, the most earth-shattering one, but there's still, players that are going for former players that are going to those HBCUs. And then the last would be the growth of the women's game. So I think those would be, like, the top 3 things I would
Yeah.
say that's really evolved and we get excited to talk about.
Well, let's talk about the podcast today, right? Because the evolution of the thing is always fascinating, particularly when you have a book of business like you guys have and all the content you've been able to generate over the last 6 years. So let's talk about the role of the podcast today. And I hate to do this, like I don't want to get too political, but I think it's fair to say that we're in kind of a unique period of time where, particularly the current presidential administration, they're not so interested in exploring some of the things that we had been talking about at length previously, right? In elevating what we talked about previously, like underserved or misrepresented voices. So do you feel like for content creators like you, is there like an increased importance to do that when you have such sort of dismissiveness coming from otherwhere in society, and to fill that vacuum right now? And how does the podcast kind of reflect that?
Man.
I know, like I said, we've got all the time in the world to be able to flesh this stuff out.
No, but honestly, it is important.
Yeah.
I think we need to have a space for it. There's so many things that I concern myself with, like in this situation, right?
Right.
So we're seeing mass things go away as
Yeah.
far as DEI, and whether how you feel about it, it served a purpose, it served a role, it was created for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to tell me you want to review it and see if there's ways of improvement or things but just kind of wiping away
Just cleaning the slate, as it were.
cleaning the
Yeah, it's
slate,
like
right? The books, right? Like removing it's almost taking me back to that, what was it, that movie with Michael B. Jordan in Fahrenheit? What was that? Fahrenheit.
Fahrenheit 451.
It's like art imitating life, or
Yeah.
the opposite way, to where, like, they were burning books in the movie to get rid of knowledge, and, like, we're kind of going through that where they're removing, these things, and, like, I'm learning stuff today because of the research of who we're looking to bring on the show, or
Right.
things that they share with us. Like, I'm coming up on history that I didn't even know, like simple history. So I think we have a role, and I think we're going to continue to do that. My next worry is when you have the people that are in these powers, like, the presidential's right
Mm-hmm.
hand man owns a platform that I use. All
Right.
right. So just I think that's the next evolution of understanding, these platforms and how we can move. Because if a Twitter, if or excuse me, X, if a IG, or if a YouTube shuts down, where am I going to take this message again?
And if it starts policing voices, right? If you, I mean, look at the podcast is very emphatically named. It's Black in Sport, and that, from my perspective, that's announcing itself. That is putting here's the line in the sand, and I'm stepping over it, and here's what we're going to be talking about. Does that then create a sense of not concern, but at least awareness that eyes are on, particularly where we are in this culture right now? And do you lean into that as because of that?
Yes. And I think one of the things that we've been working on, because, like, when we built this, remember, I am talking about the business side
Yeah.
of sports,
Right. Yeah.
and I am a Black man that is in sports. So it's always been a double entendre, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
what are you if you're successful in business? You're in the black, right? You're not
Yeah.
in the red. So
Yeah.
the business trajectory is Black in sports because you want to be in the black.
Mm-hmm.
that part is really overlooked, and it's easy to overlook because I am a black man talking
Right.
about this, and it's a business podcast. So, that's what we want to talk about, the success of being in business and
Hmm.
sports, right?
Yeah.
The next part of it is, yes, me and MH are both black males giving you our perspective, but that's not the foot in the sand to where we're not open to understanding things. There are plenty of places where you can get one perspective.
Sure.
We're just another place to get our perspective from a cultural and how we see it. We don't speak for everyone in the culture. We're
Sure.
just giving you a cultural perspective.
Right. And so when people do find the podcast Black in Sport, what do you hope they take away from it? When they listen to a few episodes? At the end of the day, the people who are listening, when you think about the content you want to deliver to them, what do you hope their takeaway is from you?
It's always been edutainment, right? And we
Yeah.
talked about this, we've talked offline a few times, and it's just I want you to learn something, right?
Yeah.
Like or just hear something that you may have not known, because we're talking to sports fans. We're
Yeah.
talking to industry folks that are in sports. We're talking to the mother and father that are saying, how do I get through? Like, what's this NIL? How do I go through recruiting? How do I, should I put my kid in training? So we've
Yeah.
had coaches that do training and things like that. So it's definitely edutainment, right? So a lot of our clips, you see us smiling and laughing as, our kind of show clip, because we do have a good time. And that's
Yeah.
what we tell our guests. And then we also introduced another platform. So we do a live show once a month. And that allows our listeners to
Yeah,
kind of come in.
that's like the scariest thing I can think of, doing a live show. Like, at least I get to edit this. It's like people are not going to hear that. Oh my God, he just said what?
Yes. So our live shows are not for the faint. So but they're fun, right? It's
Yeah.
that barbershop talk, and it's adding other perspectives. And we get to review, just our shows and what people maybe have opinions from our shows, and the topics that are going on that we may have not covered in depth. So it's definitely to make sure people learn something, maybe walk away with just hearing a different perspective. You don't have to agree, and then having a good time.
I think it's fair to say that this is an experimental medium, right? You're always kind of pulling at it and tweaking it and trying new things. You said like the live episodes. I mean, it's always fascinating to sort of see what is working and how to monkey wrench it there, because there's really no rules associated with. So where does it go from here, right? As obviously you've got great momentum. We're winning awards, 250 plus episodes. I mean, my God. Where does the next 5 years, what are you anxious to continue to build here as this thing progresses and as you get excited about it?
Wow. So there's two parts, I think, to that question,
Mm.
right? For me, the first part is the podcast medium. I don't think the medium, like, we're in like 21 years, 20 plus years
Yeah,
of
something like that.
podcasting,
Yeah.
right? Like when they
Yep.
say the first quote, first podcast started. And I don't know if it's people have always had a way to talk, right? Like whether it was
Mhm.
radio to news
Right.
outlets to I just think the medium and the technology that supports it is what's the changing, right? Because we've gone from whether it was just an audio to now we have video thanks to YouTube and other platforms. Do you go private? Do you post clips, and where do you post clips? Do you
Right.
put them on? So I think more from a podcast perspective that is the same medium as far as being able to take a platform and create a platform. And I think a lot of people are, taking that stance to be able to do it, where they should or should not do that.
Yeah. Yeah. I know.
But
Like I
people,
say, I don't do a lot of video because I got a face for podcasting.
hey, I've understood that statement before. And what's crazy about it is I truly don't like my voice, right? So here we are.
Oh my God. Like, how many times have you had a guest go, so why does your voice sound so good? And you're like, it's not. I just do it all the time. So I hear myself all the time. You don't do it. And it's like, there's no recommendation.
Absolutely. And then the second part of that question, man, is definitely a sports mindset. I'm gonna hit you with the Belichick on the Cincinnati. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think that we look at it as a 5-year plan.
Mhm.
Back to COVID, right? Everybody was hashtagging 2020 vision, and this is the best year ever. And then COVID happened, and no one saw that.
Right.
So, from our perspective, it's like next show. How can we be great for the next show, to the next show, to the next show?
Yeah.
What we can do in season. We have a forecast for. All right, what can we add this season, right? Because like we spoke about we do the locker room. So there's 3 parts. We do interviews, we do the locker room, which is a one-on-one conversation with me and MH on a certain topic, and then we do the live shows. So each year we've added something to see
Mm-hmm.
how that's worked, and I think we're going to kind of continue to do that. But the goal is still to find unique interviews. Like I still haven't gotten someone from cricket, and that's my next goal is to have a cricket player on the show.
I have a cricket player for you.
See, that's how this
I
works. I love
have
it.
a young
Let's
woman who
go.
started her own cricket club. So
See,
look
let's
at this.
go.
This is
Look,
where it's happening right now. Look at
this
for the listener. This is where the magic happens.
absolutely. We need a sound, right? We need
Yeah.
a bell or something.
Well, let me leave you with this one, right? So, like we've talked about, you've got a lot of experience in this. I think a lot of people think about the idea of starting a podcast. I mean, they're listening to a podcast right now. What advice do you have for people who think, I think I've got a niche. I think I want to talk about it a little bit. I don't think it's talked about enough. What recommendation do you have for people who are thinking about rolling out their own show?
I want to say do it, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the cliche and that's the thing to say. Um, but I think the other 2 things would be, one is understand that it takes time and work if you
Yeah.
want to do something of quality and put something out there, right? Don't rob your idea by not putting the time and the effort and the work into it. And then the last thing I would probably say is just remember that whatever you do, it's for the audience. It's not about you. You can think your idea is great, but if you don't listen to when your audience says that's dumb or they're not watching or you don't tweak it or you don't grow, that's where a lot of people miss it. They just think that like, oh, this is a great idea, and they don't tweak and make those changes for their audience.
I had a conversation with someone not that long ago who said their reason for starting a podcast was to make money. And I did the exact same thing that you did. I literally hung my head for a minute. It's like, if you start off from that perspective, you are not going to be focused on making the best content you can.
And you'll be utterly frustrated.
And you will be, oh boy, that doesn't even begin. Why do I have 10 listeners? I'm with EJ Cutliff. He is the founder and host of Black and Sport, the 2-time award-winning Black and Sport podcast. EJ, thanks for the time. Appreciate the conversation. It's good to get a little meta podcast about talking about podcasts. But before I let you go, I have got to put you in the lightning round.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Oh, that was confident. We'll see what you're saying after a couple of these questions. All right, here we go. EJ Cutliff in the lightning round. Easy one first. Right. Who's your dream guest or guests for the show? Like, who's the big get that you want?
Yeah, so we'll do 2, right? So our dream guest was OJ Simpson.
Tough get.
Not so. We had really.
But he's in Vegas.
That's it. Yes.
So this is going to happen.
Right. So we were like on it. I had 2 people. So I don't know. Maybe some of the listeners know. There's a rapper that lives here from Oakland. His name is AP9. So AP9 is friends with him. I don't know how. I don't. We won't go into the origin story.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Some things are better not left, not known.
Yes. So if you Google AP9, you'll learn all about him. Great dude, though. And so I was talking friends with AP, and I reached out to him. I was like, "Hey, man, you're on. Like, I see you posting with OJ, and hey, see if he'll do the podcast." And he's like, "Oh, I talked to Unc." He calls him Unc. He's like, and he was like, "Yeah, he probably would do it." He's just like, he's in a revenue kind of system right now. So how much are you willing to pay?
Yeah.
And we were hey, if he came with a number, we were thinking about it. And then the other way I had roads to him was a good friend of mine is the VP of sales for the Aviators, the local baseball team.
Oh, yeah.
And he lived out in Summerlin, and he would always go to the baseball games and be up in the suite. So we were getting so close. So that was like probably.
Oh boy, that is going to happen. There's too many things pointing at it to happen. All right.
Yeah.
So all right.
So yeah, but unfortunately, we didn't get a chance to get to him, and but that was just really the big one. And then the other one was Kaepernick.
Yeah.
Definitely would like to have Kaepernick, just kind of what he's gone through, what he's kind of continued. He's had wins and ups, and he's still getting ready for the league.
Yeah.
But Kaepernick was the other one. And, we do have inroads to him as well. He's very, very, very selective. And Kaepernick does live here in Las Vegas. So,
yeah. Okay.
Fingers crossed.
All right. So 2 big ones right there. All right. Also, next question. You and I, we both know Will Carter. He is Learfield's GM at Cal State Northridge. He's a mutual friend of ours. I think we need to talk about his social media presence for a minute, because that man has game. I mean, can you, like, how do you even begin to explain it when he has his own videographer?
Shout out to Willie Will, man.
Shout out to Will. I mean, first of all, I mean, it's amazing social media presence.
Oh, and that's after he was hacked and had to start over. So
what?
Let's just start there. So wherever his presence or his social media following is right now, his engagement is only maybe a year and a half in, because he got hacked, and through the battle and all of that, he had to start from scratch. And here he is still killing the game.
I'm trying to imagine being high profile enough or having such magnetism that somebody would want to hack my social media feeds.
That part, Dave. Yes.
I want to get to Dave Almey's 10 listeners or 10 viewers. Okay, Will Carter, you are loved. Much respect for the social media game.
Absolutely. And just what he does, man. I mean, when you talk about, like, I've been on the Learfield side and been a part of just kind of seeing, and what he's doing for that university, not only the university, but the community and those students there. So
he is next level.
He is definitely next level, man. Shout out to Willie Will.
Shout out to Willie Will. The Oakland A's are moving to Las Vegas.
Allegedly. I'm sorry.
I was going to ask you to care to comment, but you just did. You took it right out, man. Allegedly. So you're not going to believe it until they're actually boots on the ground.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of things happen with these deals. I mean, we're definitely pushing forward the momentum. Love to see another sport. It's so funny. We were a sports desert.
There was nothing there. Right. It was the 51ers or the minor league baseball team.
Absolutely, right. And then we were known for our running Rebel Tark days, rest in peace, Tarkanian. But, it just exploded, right, with the Golden Knights, Aces, Raiders, and we have so many other leagues that have kind of developed here, from indoor football leagues to lacrosse, right? So they're on their way. We'll see. It's 3 years.
You are going to wait until you see it to believe it kind of fella.
That's it for this,
All right. I'm planning a trip to Vegas in the not too distant future. What casino must I visit when I get there, and what game will take the least of my money?
Well, I'll start with what game. Always play craps. Craps is the best odds in the house.
All right. If so first of all, I got to figure out how the hell craps works. Then, okay, but that's got my best odds. Okay.
All right. Best odds. And they teach you. Of course, they teach you how to gamble.
I'll bet you they teach you.
Earlier in the days, they do have kind of where they'll teach you kind of a little bit of how to play the game. So, they definitely want to enroll new students of the game.
Yeah, okay, there's a shocker. All right, so I'm going to go play craps. Where am I going to go play craps?
So it depends, all right? So it depends on what you're going to do. If you're looking for atmosphere, or if you're looking for the lowest table minimums. And that will determine where you would go.
All right, so let's play both. I mean, I'm obviously going to lean more towards the lowest. But all right, but if I'm looking for style and atmosphere, I'm going where?
Yeah, I'm a former MGM employee, so I'll
share the love.
I will still share the love. You can never go wrong with Aria. All right, it's in the center of the strip, and then it's centrally located where you can get everywhere. But no, Aria has a good feel when you would go in, but there's nothing like the Wynn, right? Mm-hmm. Like I'm admiration for the Wynn. So there's nothing like being on that property as well. So depending, like I said, if you're going for low table minimums, you'll probably head downtown.
Yeah, going to go downtown. What are the fun of the value casinos? The Orleans Hotel and Casino is a major stop. We used to do the West Coast Conference basketball tournament out there. Always a good scene with all the Gonzaga fans.
That's right.
EJ Cutliff, he is the founder and host of the Black and Sport podcast. Like I said, 2-time award-winning EJ. Thanks for the time today.
Hey, thank you. It's much appreciated.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the One-on-One Sports Business Conversations podcast. If you enjoyed it, we always appreciate a subscribe, share, comment, or like. And don't forget, you can always find past episodes at abcpartners.com/podcast. This podcast is written, produced, edited, and hosted by Dave Almey. And theme music was composed by Scott Holmes.